A warm welcome to a Podful of Saints on Wednesday, the 1st of November, a new month, 2023. We're with myself, David Tavener, out in the wilds of Bedfordshire with, looks like a Coca-Cola drink in Leewood.
Sorry, but that isn't Coca-Cola. Yes, good evening, fellas. Christ. Carry on.
And on the apple juice somewhere else in St Albans, Jake Ellacott.
Hello, Dave. Hello, Lee. Hello, everyone. What a week.
Oh, what a week indeed. Yes, and a stormy weekend to come by the sound of it as well. All right, we're looking back on the Saints' 5,033rd game, a 1-0 defeat at home to Aveley last Saturday. I actually quite enjoyed the game because there were interesting things in it. Be interested what you two made of it. I'll quickly say I thought Aveley played good football. We had good chances, maybe could have turned it round and won it, but I thought overall they deserved it. Jake?
I think that's a fairly decent summary. I'm quite surprised to find out you actually enjoyed the game because, I mean, out of all the games,
Jake.
It was all right. And I say Aveley were pretty decent. You can see why they've had a decent start to the season. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really have many qualms with them winning in the end, to be honest. You know, they had a few decent openings. They had a penalty, Sam Bentley saved. And, you know, we just didn't create enough, I didn't think, in that final, well, a lot of the game, but especially that final 20 minutes or so. There's plenty of balls into the box. Well, I say plenty. There was a few. But there really wasn't anything else to talk about, to be honest, I didn't think.
What about you, Lee? Did you think it was a just outcome?
Absolutely. I don't do this often, but I'm going to heap some praise on Aveley because they did surprise me. They played football in the right areas. They used their pace extremely well in behind our fullbacks. They played football when they had to, and when they did play football, it was some very enjoyable stuff. They could have been ahead as early as the first 10 minutes, but the thing is, they just were braver than us, and they were more intelligent than us, and they took their chances well. You know, the fact is they were prepared to come and take us on. And I think when you are at home and you are the home team, the impetus is normally on you. But Aveley weren't scared of us. They weren't scared of the name. They weren't scared of the players on the pitch who we had. So, and I felt they stood up to the challenge exceptionally well, and they got exactly what they wanted and what they deserved.
I agree with you about taking the game to us. I thought first 10 to 15 minutes, we hardly saw the ball. They were passing it round. But what I liked about the way they passed it round, it was in our half. It wasn't what we were doing the first, I don't know, 10, 12 games of the season, doing it in our own half. They did it in our half. And they put us under pressure. We should have been heading 13 seconds. Matt Rush hit the underside of the crossbar. And really, well, Jake's already mentioned a penalty save by Sam Bentley from Siju, somebody else's name I can't pronounce. And they could have been outside before we really got going, which was disappointing at home. But we just didn't seem to be able to step it up, which is frustrating, and particularly in the second half, as I think Jake mentioned in the latter stages, we couldn't get at them.
No, you're right, and I think Jake and I we were sort of next to each other on the terrace, and we could just feel the frustrations of the home fans growing because it was so slow. You know, it wasn't the sort of response that we were after or we should be entitled to, because the thing is, we have got the players, but at the minute they're just not performing, and it's the inconsistency is going to kill us, and it's the hope that's going to kill us even more, because Aveley at home, fellas, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the sort of game you look at thinking, well, we should be getting something out of this, the very least a point, and quite honestly, we deserve nothing out of it.
As you say, respect to them for the way they played. Also, they're second in the table. They're not to be taken lightly now. They are up there totally on merit, the way they play from what we saw. And they were coming to us on the back of an iffy run. They'd won well at midweek at Havant and Waterlooville. They'd hit a sticky patch, and they looked like bouncing back. Can you see them hanging around up there all season, Jake?
Potentially, they play decent football, don't they? But I mean, I'd say we're only 4 points off second. So if we're saying that they're up there on merit, then we're not far behind, aren't we? Considering, the iffy form we've had lately, it'll be interesting to see how they get on. It's their maiden season. I think they've probably surpassed a lot of people's expectations. So if they play like that, most weeks they've got a chance. I have to say, be interested to see how the game would have gone if that a golden Akambi chance had gone in. I know, I suspect Aveley probably still would have got something from the game themselves, but it'd be interesting to see how we'd have gone if we'd taken the lead, especially at that point. And you have to say it's a great save from their keeper North in his what was a weird mix of St Albans and Harpenden kit, wasn't it? Yellow and green, but also at the same time you have to think surely we should be scoring that. So it's just game of fine opportunities, but then you look at their chances as well. I mean, their goal, is what it is, can do about it. But then 10 minutes before, they missed a golden opportunity as well, didn't they? Where the goal was basically at their mercy. So it's ifs and buts, and you just wonder what would have happened if Akambi had managed to slot that away. But yeah.
Yeah, Akambi, he's had a few one-on-ones, hasn't he? He stuck a couple away and he's missed a couple as well. Yeah, as you say, Jonathan North did get a hand on it. He saved it. But from there, you are looking for your centre forward to stick those away. Yeah, he gets goals. He misses goals. We've got another one like that on the bench somewhere. We'll come to him in a minute, I think. But other chances we had, well, there weren't many clear chances, but there were chances, weren't there? We got ourselves in good positions, but we just weren't clinical. Hello, this thing's falling down again.
Oh, God. Dave, we really need to get you better technology at some point, don't we? I mean,
Dave, let's chip in, mate, and just get him something that's going to stand the test of time. I mean, look, was it bloody hell? I mean,
I know.
Listeners, watch this. This is about as high tech as it's going to get for us. I'm afraid. The Guardian podcast. This is not.
No, right.
I mean, we did get into decent positions. Oh my, I don't want to know what that is. We did get into decent positions, but as you say, probably in contrast actually to the two games last week, we didn't have really a lot of shots, did we? Or at least try and test the keeper or get shots away on target, which we'd actually praised in the last few weeks, despite maybe performances weren't full 90. We'd at least been getting shots away. And then on Saturday against Aveley, it was sort of stopped again, didn't it? I mean, we talk about good openings, but I really can't think of many where Jordan North was actually really tested, that particularly, apart from that Akambi one. So again, it just felt like maybe we're a little shot shy for some reason. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's Aveley's defending. I think they packed the box well at times, but yeah, that was just disappointing in that final third.
Yeah, from what I can remember, I think Aveley actually did try quite a few shots, but like that one on 13 seconds that hit the bar. That open goal, that was Charlie Hughes who missed it, wasn't it? Wasn't he ex-Hemel?
Must be with that finishing.
Well done, Jake. You can rely on you. That clean sheet that Aveley kept, not Yeovil, we haven't got them. Aveley kept, stopped our run of scoring in 7 successive league games. Our best run under Nobby is scoring in 9 successive league games, which we've done twice. And in both of those, Sean Jeffers scored 9 goals. The top scorer in our run of 7 games now was Mitchell Weiss with 4. So come on, tell me what Jeffers isn't playing.
Oh, you just can get him into any sort of conversation, can't you, Dave? It's just the worst of the lot of us. Your question, I think, comes down to we don't know. I will say what was noticeable on Saturday when Sean came on, where we were stood, was how loud the cheers were for him, but how sarcastic a lot of them almost came across as well. It was really noticeable. I think fans talked about it every week, but there's definitely that pressure is still continuing to build, especially in games like that.
I think it will continue as long as the performances aren't what they have been. I think the one thing I would take out of it, the post-match. I mean, David Noble is not the most articulate, and that's fine, but he's almost added, I think I spoke to sort of Jake about this in the week, he's added like a deadpan arrogance to his Arsenal now. And I've got to say, on Saturday, he didn't come out of it at all well. I think he's taken the fans a little bit for granted and their intelligence, because some of the answers he was, and I felt quite sorry for Will, who was the interviewer, you know, and he tried to sort of probe. They weren't the right questions to ask, but I can see what he was trying to do. So Will asked that, you know, why is Jeffers not starting? And Nobby's response was something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing, that because we won the last game, so, you know, we sort of keep a winning side. Well, if that's the sort of logic that David's going to go with, then seeing as we lost this game, does that mean Akanbi then comes out and Sean Jeffers comes back in? No, of course not. So then stop treating us like fucking idiots, because we're not. The thing is, the fans deserve better. And a little bit, I think you can definitely feel as though Nobby's been drinking from the St Albans City Kool-Aid, this, you know, this misdirection and misinformation and just the blasé stoneheadedness when it sort of comes to the tough questions. It's not on. You know, it's not impressive in any sort of way. He's the manager, and you know he can decide how he answers the questions. Of course, he can. But if he wants this Sean Jeffers thing to go away, he isn't helping with the way he's dealing with it in his post match.
Yeah, it's the closest Will's come to asking why isn't Sean playing. We go right back to the start, not just pick on that game. Why is he not picking him? Why is he not giving him a run to see if he still got it? See if he still do it at this level. Maybe Nobby thinks he's lost it. Okay, give him a chance to prove it. One suspects he hasn't yet. But we're not going to know, because that question won't get asked. It just get asked like Will did that Saturday. Why did he miss that one game? And as you say, the answer was because we scored 3 goals in the previous game. It doesn't matter if it's taken us 16 games, which is the longest it's taken us in any season, to get 3 goals in a game. You were about to add to that, Lee.
It was about, well, I'd like to get your sort of take, because Jake and I are part of a WhatsApp group and, a chat. And it was suggested in the week that the whole Jeffers thing is boring and that fans should just move on. Some of the comments were sort of tongue-in-cheek, granted. And I made the point that it is boring. Everyone's bored of it, no doubt about it. But the fact is, it's still an ongoing question, and it's creating an atmosphere now at Clarence Park. I think Jake alluded to it a bit earlier on, that it's just getting a little bit niggly, a little bit narky, and the whole situation is reflective on the capabilities of our manager. It's reflective of perception of our club. But it can all be stopped by some God's honest questions and some, you know, even righteous answers. Because the thing is, I think the fans would lay off Nobby a little bit if there was just some honesty and some clarity with the whole situation. If David Noble doesn't like Sean Jeffers, just come out and say, look, it's not an avenue that I'm looking at. You know, Sean brings something into the game, blah, blah, blah. Just, you know, someone should pull him aside and say, look, we've got to address this better. The powers that be behind the scenes have got to come together. So look, we've got to address this better, because they must hear what we hear on the terraces, Jake. You know, and the thing is, it is getting snippy. It's getting real it's getting quite tense, and it can get a bit toxic. The longer it carries on, the worse it'll get. Because the thing is, the answers that Nobby's providing are absolutely moronic in terms of his lack of appreciation for the fans' understanding of the game and the situation that they find themselves in now.
Jake, in many respects, you gave Nobby his answer earlier on, Jake, when you said we're only 4 points off second place. So that's his answer. All right, some of the teams have got another game this weekend when we haven't, so that gap could get a bit bigger. So, but as long as he's keeping it as close as that's his answer, isn't it? He's on safe ground.
Absolutely. And to be fair, if you'd offered us this position at the start of the season, I think we'd all have taken it in terms of league position and points total. As we said earlier, it is a very tight league. We're not incredibly far ahead of the bottom 4, are we, at the minute? And that's just the way the league is at this point in the season. That's fine. And that does allow Nobby to have that sort of confidence in himself to say, look, you can see the results. It may be a little bit up and down. It may not be as consistent as it was at times last season, but we're still very much, you know, hanging on to the coattails of the top 7 teams. And there's not really a risk at the minute of them running away and suddenly that gap opening up. And that's totally understandable. And I think that is a genuinely understandable view and position to take. And I can understand why some fans do think that as well. But what I would say is quite noticeable. The fans that we speak to, Lee, it's not just the old school fans. It's not just people who might watch this podcast religiously. It's fans from across the broad spectrum that we've spoken to at Clarence Park, some of whom have only just started supporting the Saints in the last 2-3 years since the club's grown in popularity. And even they're saying the same thing about Sean Jeffers, aren't they? In person and also online. If you look at the responses to Nobby's post-match, it was only a handful of responses, but they're all quite negative at the minute. on the forums, etc., it's all, it's the Sean Jeffers conversation. We may as well recall this the Sean Jeffers podcast at this point. It's what everyone's talking about at the club at the minute. I mean, I enjoyed last week's episode where we got a week off from the Sean Jeffers chat. That was great, but it's come back again, and that's just the way it is, unfortunately. And I hope everyone else watching enjoyed that episode. But it is really noticeable how many supporters, and we've talked about it a lot this season, and that's fine. But we have to keep talking about it because it is the main conversation we have with other fans.
It's interesting. I was going to say, Sean was the second substitution last Saturday because, 10 minutes earlier, George Morrell came on. Nobby's pinning a lot of faith in him and sticking him out on the right wing. It's an interesting thing, isn't it? He keeps putting him ahead of Sean and not sticking him right up front.
It felt to me that was a little bit tactically forced upon him because James coming off, I guess. But then could Nobby have changed the shape to try and get Sean Jeffers on? I think that's one thing from Saturday was going behind in the 65th minute. I think Sean had been warming up throughout the second half. I think fans want to see, right, get him on now. Let's get him ready. Get him on. Why have we got to wait 10 more minutes where not much really happened? And maybe there could have been half a chance for Sean to score. Sorry, Lee, I know I took it from you there.
No, mate. You've both sort of reiterated the point I was going to make in so much that fans don't demand. The fans shouldn't be told everything that goes on behind the club, right? The fans aren't having got a right to know everything that goes on. If David Noble doesn't want to play Sean Jeffers, absolutely fine. With me, it's fine. But then you have to make justify that move. My issue is the way he's bringing Sean on when he could have done it earlier to influence the game, to impact the game. It's just, I think that David isn't managing this particularly well. He manages some amazing things across the board at the club, but I just don't think the whole situation with Sean, I don't think he's managing it well. He could, as you say, fellas, there was nothing going on you could tell by 55 minutes, nothing was happening for us. Sean could have come on a bit earlier. He's quite happy to play Sean out of position, so he could have come on, for George and then move those players around. Or as you say, Jake, change shape. There's an argument that I was talking to one of the dads at school who goes to the park, and you change the system to fit your best players in, and that's not always the way it can pan out, admittedly. But it was crying out for Sean. It was need a little bit of life, need a little bit of spark. And if Nobby doesn't want Sean Jeffers to be part of this side, easier said than done, then he's just got to come out and tell the fans, because I think we deserve to know what the true deal is. Having running around, not enough, isn't the answer. The fact that we lost, because Sean was in the side at Billericay and then he got dropped, that isn't the answer. It's just absolute farcical. And we need some adults in the room now just to sort of calm things down and tell us what the situation is.
You mentioned about the time he brings Sean on. He could do it earlier. As we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, he obviously hasn't got the faith in him to score goals. So otherwise, he wouldn't stick. It would stick him in starting 11. So he doesn't put him in that. So why does he suddenly think, every last quarter of an hour he's going to get a goal? If you got that little faith in him, well, don't pick him at all. Then come be open with it. You don't think he's going to do it. It's bizarre. Anyway, he came on for Emmanuel Harvest on Saturday. Youngster on loan from Leyton Orient. Has he caught your eye at all?
I think he did okay. I think it was a tough one for him on Saturday. I think we're asking a lot of Emmanuel to come in. I thought he looked decent against Slough in the second half on midweek last week. But on Saturday, I don't know. I think part of the problems we had on Saturday were our midfield just really wasn't influential enough on the game, was it? And we couldn't really create enough in there. So, I think it's a big step up for him, and I think he'll be a decent addition. And the main thing is he's another body in the squad at the minute. I mean, if we didn't have him with Ryan's suspension, I don't know who would have played in there on Saturday. Maybe Sean Jeffers. But otherwise, it was a tough one for him, and I thought he was all right, but it wasn't an outstanding performance.
Now, the third substitution on 87 minutes, I could not make head or tail off. Taking off Dylan Farge, who had caused Aveley a bit of problem down our left, and bringing on Andronicus Giorgio, more central player. I just couldn't see that at all. You're taking away probably our last creative threat in many respects, and just made life easier for Aveley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Good
mean,
summary.
yeah, no, it's perfect, isn't it? And you know what? You should apply for a press pass, Tabs, and get into that box, mate, and ask them probing questions to some of the coaching side. Then we wouldn't have to be waffling on for half an hour about the same thing week after week. But you look at the situation now, and as Jake said, Harvest, he did okay. I thought he got caught out of position a few times in the second half, in particular. That was quite telling. But as it's all about, it's just about bodies, isn't it? Filling up that squad, filling up those spaces. Tough game coming up at Braintree. They are looking forward. They're looking forward to this game immensely. Spoke to the chairman. He sees that we're there for the taking, and hopefully now we've got to get that mindset right to make sure that we're not.
Well, just before that, we mentioned Jack James came back on Saturday. He missed 6 games since getting injured at Chelmsford. So that's last 7 games. We haven't kept a clean sheet since we lost our 2 fullbacks. Is that quite telling, or is that a coincidence?
I think it is, because before Chelmsford, we did actually had a little decent run of clean sheets, hadn't we? I think we lost a lot of the defence on that day, and we struggled to get it back since. I think recent weeks, the defence has been a little bit shaky, but what the difference was, we've been scoring the goals to sort of deal with that, to be honest, I thought, in the last 2 games at least, and that's fine. I thought Jack James, we're probably asking a lot of him to come in straight from the start on Saturday, to be honest. You know, he's been out for a little while. Probably would have liked a bit more time, maybe sort of getting a bit of match experience or a bit of training time. That's fine. And it's no surprise he came off, is it? So I think the sooner he's back fit, the better. But then, you know, you look at the injury list, it still continues to grow, doesn't it? So I think even just one player coming back, it doesn't really make too much of an impact with the amount of players we've got out. And the problem is we don't know how long a lot of these players are going to be out for.
No, because we're still not getting any updates at all, which is utterly ridiculous. Supporters, they pay money. They don't need to know anything. Ridiculous. Right. Yes, Braintree Town, nothing this Saturday. We're at Braintree Town next Tuesday, the 7th of November, Cressing Road, although I think it's called something else these days now. We've lost the last 3 against them, not scored in the last 4, but all that is totally irrelevant, of course.
We'll go and win now. You watch. We'll go and win, and then in the post-match, Nobby will give it all up, all of that. We'll go and win, because it's just the sort of thing that City do, and it's brilliant. It's why we love this scene, because they're so inconsistent but so brilliant on occasion. It's just so pans out. Those occasions are very, very few and far between at the minute. So there we go.
You know their chairman very well, obviously. You worked with him for donkey's years. Have you as confident about us having success as he is about them?
I don't. I have to say he shares the universal view of the treatment of Jeffers. He doesn't understand it. But he's a different sort of chairman. He's an old school chairman. And I think he probably would have sort of stepped in long before now to make sure that that doesn't happen at Braintree. But the thing is, he doesn't see the inner workings of the football club. He doesn't sort of take a lot of interest in what we're doing. But he's looking forward to the match, because as you say, Tavs, they've got our number on the whole. We don't really go there and get a great deal out of it. But the thing is, I think I still have belief in this team. I still have a belief in the players. It's just a matter of what team we can put out at the minute. I think if we have everyone fit and everyone firing, then I absolutely see that there's justification that we're only 4 points off a second, or whatever it is that Jake said. I don't really look at the table at the start of November. It doesn't really mean a great deal for me. But next Tuesday is going to be a massive, massive game, just to sort of try and get us back on track a little bit, and try and instill some confidence into the players and indeed the fans.
Yeah, they lost 2-0 at Yeovil Town last Saturday. No great surprise there. I think it was Yeovil's 10th straight win in all competitions. Before that, they'd won 2 on the trot. They've kept 5 clean sheets so far this season, Braintree, to our 4. They got a goalkeeper, Vincent Reyes, on loan from Norwich City. And he's kept 3 clean sheets in his 5 games, so he's made a good start. A bit like old Dylan Berry with us last season. Top goal scorers, Aaron Blair was 7, only 3 in the league, and Will Davis 6 in 15 games. So their top goal scorers, similar sort of mark to us. Defensively, similar to us. You can see just with 1 goal bin in it, can't you? Either way, Jake.
Yeah, I would, and it's been that way down there the last couple of years, hasn't it? I think last season we lost 1-0, and I think that was Ian Anderson's last game in charge, I believe. That was a memorable evening in some regards in terms of how poor we were. But then the season before that, we had a great time. We won 2-1, I think, that day. That was a very interesting afternoon off the pitch with some interesting experiences. So it's always been quite tight down there, and you always expect quite a difficult game. It's never the funnest place to go, especially on a Tuesday night. It's always difficult. I'm sure there'll be quite a few fans down there, but yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a real fight. And as Lee says, their owner will absolutely love to get one over us, and it's going to be difficult. But the good thing is, got this extra couple of days, haven't we? So we've probably got another training session, another couple of days for some lads maybe to come back from injuries, or potentially get them some time on the training pitch if any of them are able to. So hopefully that works in our favour potentially, because I think, boy, do we probably need the break, to be honest, an extra couple of days before we go into another quite a tough run of actual fixtures coming up after this weekend of quite a few games. So hopefully this weekend off will actually prove to be our benefit going into Tuesday night.
It's funny, Ian Anderson, I spoke to him a couple of times about that Braintree game, because as you say, it was his last game. And he still maintains we played well that day. He was happy. We didn't take our chances. Not quite how I saw it, but there we go. It's all about opinions on the day, and we see things differently.
Yeah.
But we know if we fail to score again like we did last time, then chances are we'll be coming home with nothing. You mentioned about players coming back. You'd like to think this extra time is going to do us some good, but we don't know. We're not getting any word at all.
I mean,
One thing I would
Braintree-
say, no, go on.
Sorry.
The one thing that I would say is that the Braintree run their club a certain way. They've got very, very few contracted players, but what they can do, and I know I've mentioned this on the pod maybe last year and probably the year before that, but they like to sort of tap into the loan market nice and early, and they get these young, hungry players because of where they are. Your Norwiches, your Colchesters, all of that area, all that sort of catchment, they do get it, and the parent clubs do see value in sending them to Braintree en masse because they do, get results, and it's just that winning mentality. And I just want to put the question to you fellas: is it now time, considering how low our stock is in terms of bodies in our squad, that we now start delving into the loan market?
I don't know, because we won 2 of the last 3 games. I know we were getting bogged down with the Aveley game, but we have won 2 of the last 3.
Yeah.
And with Jack James, got 1 player coming back. I don't think Ben White's far away, maybe. I may be wrong. So you'd like to think others are coming back. We've got Ryan Blackman back as well Saturday from suspension. We've had, 2 players so far. George Hoddle, really like the look of, till he was taken off by that absolutely shocking tackle at Taunton. Emmanuel Harvest, going to take him time to settle into midfield. Again, he's not a creative player by his own admission. He's a defensive midfielder. And we need something creative in there. There's no 2 ways about it to create more chances. I don't know. I think you take it for granted we're going to go into a low market sometime. When it's going to be big time, I don't know, like we did last year when we had about 5 at a time.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think the Hoddle situation is quite difficult to judge because it's been going on for 2.5, 3 months now, isn't it, since he last featured after that shocking tackle. I mean, hopefully he's come back soon, but of course, we're not his parent club. That's harder, I guess, to judge where that situation is. I wouldn't be shocked to see us dip into the loan market, but then we brought in Partington, didn't we, from Farnborough as a permanent signing. Also brought in Akambi. I mean, to be fair, at the start of the season, we talked about how we were quite light on forwards. So Akambi is that additional depth there, isn't he, I suppose? I think it's just the injury crisis is unbelievable. And it's if any of these players are going to be, say, out for another month, you do wonder if they'll just look at maybe another 28-day loan potentially, a bit like I think Emmanuel Harvest is initially. Just try and complement the squad a little bit more. But then, as we said earlier, Nobby seems to like not Hoddle, George Morrell, doesn't he? Coming out off the bench at the minute, which is fine. I'd like to see George more up front than out wide if he is coming on, and I don't think he can't do a fullback's job. I think that's a tough ask for him. So it's very difficult, and it's hard for us to say, isn't it, when we just don't have the full picture of where the squad is at the minute.
Questions, fellas. Loads of questions.
Indeed. I mean, I would say one positive going into Tuesday is Braintree do have a game on Saturday. Unfortunately, that is against Havant, who
they're going well, aren't they?
Yeah. So, I mean, that is what it is.
Yeah, it's funny. Haven't one win this season since Ben appointed Steve King as manager. Who did that win come against?
Was it Yeovil?
It was Yeovil, top of the table.
There you go.
It's a funny old game, Saint, isn't it?
Yeah, it does make sense.
No, it makes no sense at all. So it makes some predictions that some people do absolute nonsense because you certainly cannot predict things like that.
Well, okay. Should we do some predictions for Tuesday night?
Speaking of nonsense predictions, yeah. I mean, it would be so City to go there and get something. I'm going to go for a score draw, maybe cheeky little 1-1.
I'm going to go a classic 2-1 Saints.
Bosh, there we go.
Oh, you're rotten devil. I was going for that. I'll have to go 3-0 win then, obviously. The draw was made earlier this week for the second round of the FA Trophy on the 18th of November. And we've got to travel across county to Woodside Park, home of Bishop Stortford. Oh, happy memories. Do you remember that live FA Cup game? Live on television? That got off to a good start, didn't it?
Speaking of goalkeepers.
Yeah.
If anyone hadn't seen it, it was it was old guy with the Eastern European name that I can't pronounce, who was in goal. And he went to kick it clear, didn't he? And didn't he just smack it straight into Darren Foxley, former City player, and it looped into the net? Something like that?
Something like that. It was not the most enjoyable, was it?
No. And it went downhill from there.
Out of all the draws we could have got for this tie, I mean, somewhere interesting, somewhere different, somewhere a little bit of variety. No, Bishop Stortford. I thought, we weren't going to play them this season. They're stuck in the north. No, we somehow still play them this season after their promotion. How
I'd want to gone to the north, to be fair to you. You know what I mean? Just get somewhere interesting, as you say, Jake.
When you hear that Bishop Stortford are above Darlington in the league, you think, crikey, they must be doing well. Well, yeah, they're 23rd and Darlington are 24th. 3 wins in 15 for Stortford, and it's rotten them being pushed in the north. You've really got a feel for them. It's so unfair. But we've got to add to their misery, haven't we? I know we're both playing at the same level, but I do fancy us for that one. We could do with it. It just give the club a lift to have a run in the trophy. And I hope we don't take it as, we're going to save players for the league. I hope we don't do any of that nonsense.
Can't save players for the league, but he ain't got any left.
Exactly.
we got to play. Everyone's playing, mate. Everyone's playing. It's all hands to the pump. But I agree with you, Tabs. I reckon, that this could be the catalyst. The trophy could be a nice little distraction from all the negativity about, Sean Jeffers Gate and the players coming back. This really could be something now to unite, the whole club and just get behind it, create a little bit of momentum as well, and that will ultimately take us into the league. So I'm with you, mate. I can see us winning that one.
Good. Glad somebody can. Yes. Right. Some rearranged fixtures haven't appeared on the website yet, but not a lot does these days. They're on the fixture list. Hitchin Town, we got them in the Hearts Charity Cup at home on the 5th of December and at home in the Hearts Senior Cup on the 9th of January. And the rearranged game away to Worthing is now a lovely Tuesday night on the 12th of December. Talking of Tuesday night games, what about Western Supermare last night, all the way to Dartford? and losing, having the pleasure of losing 4-2 as well, which pushed us down another place.
Anyway, Worthing on a Tuesday night in December, that's like the perfect Christmas present, isn't it? I mean, what more do you want, really?
That's going to be cold.
So
That's going to be cold.
one thing, actually, I'll shout out to Aaron Livo, who watches the podcast. He's actually just tweeted that Hoddle is back in Cambridge United's youth team for a FA Cup tie this evening, apparently, if it's the same Hoddle. So maybe we'll see him return to the Saints very soon, which would be, I think, great news in terms of midfield. So hopefully that's accurate. Aaron's never tweeted anything wrong before. Definitely not.
Not today, anyway.
So hopefully that could be a bit of good news.
Maybe we should go and support Cambridge United if we want player updates.
Oh, well, they've got your favourite Glenn McConnell, haven't they? Even though he doesn't really play that much. So
It's a matter of time.
Unlike the success story that is Shea Cooper, scoring goals for Colchester United, starting games. I mean, out of the two of them, I bet you wouldn't bet on that, would you, Dave? shows what you know.
No, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Right, are we done then?
I think we are.
So.
Just a quick shout out to everyone that's messaged us. We've had quite a few this week. Looking forward to the pod, you crazy cats, you. Hopefully this hasn't disappointed you in any way, shape or form. If you do want to get in touch with us, young Jacob is going to give you all the information needed.
Yeah, at a Podful of Saints on Twitter /X, email address below. If it has disappointed you and you need a laugh, go look at Lee Wood's socials of him dressed up for Halloween last night. Quite the image. But if that doesn't quite do the job, look at his face. Very similar face now, actually. On that note, we will say goodbye and we will see you again next week after the Saints pick up 3 points against Braintree Town. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Come on, you Saints. Bye-bye, everyone.
Cheerio.